Let's hear it for the newest member of the AEW roster, Mr. Adam Copeland. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me. So what's new? Sorry, I went for the obvious.
This is going to be excellent. Well, I'd like to begin by welcoming Adam to AEW. And I thought it was a great show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight at AEW WrestleDream. It was an amazing event. Thanks to all of you. And I'd like to announce Adam Copeland has officially signed with AEW.
Yeah.
Congrats on being all elite, and something I'm really excited about, something that I think is going to set this apart, and something that got me even more excited about Adam being here is this is full-time. Adam's going to be with us every week. He's going to wrestle. He's a full-time part of the AEW roster. I think it's going to be a long time since anybody's seen Adam Copeland wrestle as much and at the level he's been in AEW. He's already been doing great stuff. He's wrestling at the highest level in recent years, but he's going to be here on a weekly basis, and it's something I'm so excited about because that's great news for us in AEW. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Part of coming here is that I wanted to contribute. I wanted to help, and I just felt like here I'd really be able to do that and have the opportunity to do that. And I look at an entire fresh roster of faces and so many talent that I've never laid hands on before. And that to me, as a person who is driven by challenges, that for me was the biggest thing. Like, I've never been in a ring with Samoa Joe. I've never stood in a ring with Sting before tonight. After 31 years in the industry, that's never happened. And then I see a guy like Nick Wayne, or I see Swerve. There's just so many possibilities here. And for me at this stage of my career, that is so enticing. That is so exciting. That is so, I said it out there after the fact when I came back out there tonight, I felt free. That's just the word I felt free, and it felt fun. And I felt almost like the same feeling I would have when I'd come out for my indie shows, back when I was either Adam Impact or Sexton Hardcastle or something. And it was this brand new thing that I always wanted to do. And that feeling, I felt it out there tonight. And that at this stage of my career, to feel that's special. That's, man, like, come on, 31 years in, and to feel that way, that's a gift. And this is all I ever wanted to do. And this feels like an opportunity to come in and not just come in every 3 months. I'm gonna be there every week. I'm a full-time guy, and I want to do that for as long as that is possible, because I feel like that's how I can help the most. And more than anything, that's what I'm here to do.
It's great news. And in even more great news, we're going to hear from Adam Copeland, the Rated R Superstar, for the first time ever on AEW Dynamite this Wednesday night. Perfect way to begin a new era and to celebrate the 4th anniversary of AEW Dynamite. So I'm really excited to have you this Wednesday in Stockton on Dynamite for the first time ever.
Yeah, I'll give the mission statement and kind of explain what happened tonight and what my thought process was there, because there was a lot of different things going on emotionally out there tonight. Hey, Keith, how you doing? Good to see you. It's been a while. Yeah, man, like, if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited, and I feel like a little kid again. And this is the best gig in the world. It really is. Yeah, I'm a kid from Southern Ontario, and this is all I ever wanted to do. And if you had told me that 98% of what would happen to me throughout my career would happen, I'd say you're crazy. Well, throw this onto the list, and at the top of the list now, because my God, it just, man, I can't tell you how excited. And even just, so I'll tell you a story. Friday, I fly here Friday, right? And I call Darby, and I'm like, hey, Darby, you're a Seattle guy, right? So I want to get a muscle car. And do you got any cool sites that we could shoot? So we just went and guerrilla shot Friday night from like 9 to midnight. And I'm hanging out of the back of an SUV holding the cameraman while this muscle car is going 50 miles an hour down Gum Alley. Was it Gum Alley? With all the gum, which was disgusting and awesome at the same time. And I'm just like, I'm hanging out of an SUV holding the cameraman, and I'm just cackling at 49 years old. Like, this is amazing. What are we doing? This is awesome. And again, back to that word, just free. Sorry, verbal diarrhea.
It's great. That's amazing. And I love seeing you like this. I'm so glad you're happy to be here, and you're jumping right into the fire. Not only are you going to be making your first ever appearance on Dynamite this Wednesday, but then the following week, first of all, you're also coming to Collision, I believe, in Utah on the 7th. So he's working both shows this week. We're going to see Adam Copeland, the Rated R Superstar, Wednesday night, Dynamite in Stockton for the first time ever, and we'll see him for the first time ever on Collision this Saturday. And then the following week, Dynamite is actually going to be on Tuesday, October 10th, for Title Tuesday. It's my birthday. It's going to be a great event. We're going to have a great time. I'm very excited about it. And I got the greatest birthday present in the world, because the newest member of the AEW roster, the Rated R Superstar, Mr. Adam Copeland, has requested a match on October 10th in Kansas City. And we got a little preview of that action tonight on WrestleDream. Based on your request, it's going to be Adam Copeland, the Rated R Superstar, versus Luchasaurus on Tuesday, October 10th in Kansas City. And Luchasaurus is a multiple-time champion, one of the toughest wrestlers in AEW. It's going to be a great debut match for you.
It'll be hard. But I will say Luchasaurus is a guy that I always saw and saw so much potential in what he brings to the table. It's also kind of jumping into the deep end of the pool, but that's what I do.
It's awesome. So great. And we can take some questions, Mandy, if you want to.
All right, thank
We
you.
can get one from both of you.
Okay, great. Lyrics went monthly peers. So compared to a lot of your other peers from your generation, you've spent most of your career in one company.
Yep.
So now that you're in AEW, what are one or two of those bucket list items that you're looking to accomplish, whether it's an opponent or a match type? What's something that you're really excited to do?
When I talked to Tony, I said, just in looking at the roster very quickly, like there's 14 names. I mean, that's just from a quick little cursory glance. But like I said, I mean, I've never faced Samoa Joe. That's really exciting to me. I've never faced or been in the same ring as Jon Moxley. Highly interesting to me. Claudio, never been in the ring. Like there's so many different talent here that I have a lot of respect for, and I'd really like to feel what that is. Kenny Omega, like that's never happened. I just met him. We'd never met before, There's a lot here to see and to challenge myself with. And again, that's my entire life has been built on challenges. So to look at that, oh God, a guy like me, that's a steak dinner waiting to be eaten.
Two more questions right here.
Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling.
Hi.
So everyone was so excited, the fan reaction to have you debut tonight. And what I would love to know is, how did these conversations begin? And what can we look forward to, not only perhaps in ring, but also will you be helping out backstage perhaps in developing AEW talent or creating storylines?
I've always been a person that enjoys that process in terms of being heavily involved in the creative process and the direction of storylines, helping add little things. But those little things, when you put them together, they start to weigh a lot. I love that. I love detail, attention to detail, and just the little nuances. I love that. I watch movies and I just, why'd they make that choice? I used to follow directors around and they'd be so annoyed. I'm like, why are you making that choice? Why are we turning around here? Why are we getting this angle? I'd go to the DOP, go, what's going on here? What's going on with this lighting? I'm just fascinated. It's part of why I fell in love with this industry, is the storytelling element of it. It's a form of art, and that's how I've always looked at it. And now it's an even more nuanced form of art, because it's so much more detailed, and the audience is so much more intelligent. So you have to work to that intelligence. And I absolutely plan to be helping out whoever wants help. Whoever comes and talks to me, I am an open book. And my 31 years of experience, if you want to tap into that, I'm a phone call, I'm a text, I'm a come talk to me face to face away. That's always been how I've been. So, there were guys like I had a group of 7 people and I'd FaceTime with them an hour a day to help them find their voice in promos. I love doing that stuff. So that's part of what I think I bring to the table when I come here. And honestly, that was one of the really pivotal things, beside my daughter telling me that I should go be with Uncle Jay and have fun, that I thought I could really try and help here. And in turn, that helps the entire wrestling industry, which is the thing that I just love. Second behind my wife and my kids.
We can do a few more, I think.
Yeah, I'm on a roll.
Yeah, he's on fire.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Keith Elliott Greenberg with Inside the Ropes magazine. You mentioned that you were here Friday night. Now, there's a lot of people in this room who I think, had there been an Adam Copeland sighting, they would not have been able to contain themselves from tweeting about it. How did you manage to keep yourself scarce?
Oh man, I was sequestered. I sequestered myself in a hotel room. So we were in some sketchy neighborhoods. Like Darby took us to some sketchy places. It's like, ain't nobody here gonna worry about like Adam Copeland being here, kind of thing, right? So nobody saw us. And then I went to my hotel room and I just like sneak out to get food. And this one kid, bless his heart, I'm at this burger joint and I just really wanted a cheeseburger because I hadn't eaten for 14 hours. And I was like, I just want to get a cheeseburger. So I'm in there and I'm sitting there, I'm reading my book because I bring a book everywhere when I eat. And I looked up and he went, oh, I went, okay. And that was it. That was the only time that I had that encounter, because the rest of the time I was like, hoodie and all that. So yeah, that's what happened. I was out in Redmond.
That's great.
Hi, my name is Amanda from
Hi.
WrestleTalk.com.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. You sound excited.
I am. So I've been authorized to ask this question. I'm not asking anything about contracts or anything of the like, but my favorite version of Adam Copeland is when he's with his lovely wife. Is there any chance that we might see you together here? Or is that something that you'd like to do in the future again?
I mean, anytime I get to be close to Beth, obviously I'm going to, be super excited about that. I don't know about the possibilities of that in the foreseeable. But I love being around her, obviously. And we've had a blast when we did get to work together. But where she will be instrumental without anyone knowing it is she's my sounding board. So if you've seen me do something or you see something that you think worked, it was always bounced off Beth, and then she always gives me better ideas back. It's kind of amazing to be married to a Hall of Famer. It's pretty cool. Who can suplex you?
That's great. Maybe one more, I think.
Oh, you got hosed, man.
Sorry. Kevin Deers with Defy Wrestling. So the song that you came out to tonight, iconic song.
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to come out to that as opposed to a new theme? And was it difficult to secure that? Do you own the rights to that, et cetera?
So Alter Bridge are my friends. Mark Tremonti, who wrote the song, is a very good friend. So that song's with me wherever I go. And that was very important to me. To me, I've always been very musically motivated, and I think it sets the tone for a character, and it also sets the tone for Adam to get in that place. And that music, from the first time I heard it in Mark's house, after I dropped a beer in his foyer, after just meeting him, he played that for me with his scratch lyrics on it. And I was out with a neck injury. I was like, can I have that song? He was like, absolutely, dude. And we just met. And 20 years later, here we are. And I called Mark and I said, hey, what do you think? He goes, absolutely, dude. That answer is not going to change. And that was really, really pivotal important to me because it would have felt weird coming out to something else.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, man. Thank you again, Adam. Thanks. I had a football game at 6:30 in the morning, so I mean, it's a good start to the day, and at Wembley Stadium, no less. So we've had a great start to the scrum, and now we'll have several other great top stars from AEW joining us. But it was great to be joined for the first time ever by the newest member of the AEW roster, the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland. It's a great pay-per-view tonight, WrestleDream, and it got off to a great start, I thought, and just kept going. I thought we never slowed down. It's one of my favorite events, and as I said, we were off to a great start, and it started with an amazing tag team title defense from a great champion. Here he is.
Jewish Ultimo Dragon. Hold on.
Yeah.
Way too many belts. Oh my God. They're very heavy. Okay. That's what I'm doing with them. Okay. Right off the whip, I just wanted to say something very quickly. Let's have a conversation. You said that the match was incredible, but it was a gimmick match. And I would like to, no, I didn't tell you to speak. Very quickly, here's what I'm going to say. I feel professional wrestling for an incredibly long time went south, in my opinion. I think people decided that they needed to absolutely murder themselves or their opponents, not even considering trying to get a win. All they were considering was trying to get a cheap pop or a cheap reaction. What I'm trying to do is bring back a flavor of ice cream that I love, and dare I say, is just as much professional wrestling as most certainly is not a gimmick. And that is to make people so emotionally invested in the person that is inside the squared circle that if they hit a body slam or a headlock takeover or a kangaroo kick, it gets just as loud of a reaction as Darby Allin getting thrown onto the steel stairs, which was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I am not faulting you. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. All I am simply saying is nothing I do is a gimmick. I believe that professional wrestling in all shapes and sizes is important, and it's all different flavors of ice cream. But I also believe, to me, from my 2 cents, if you can do what I do and get that reaction, I think it's much harder, actually, than doing a triple Indy, whatever the fuck. Obviously, they're going to clap. It's insane. Can you make them absolutely freak out and have a damn near panic attack when you do little to nothing? To me, that is professional wrestling. And everybody's thoughts on what pro wrestling is different. And I am really, 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 really proud of all of the flavors of ice cream that we showed on tonight's card. I think this is quite possibly one of, if not the best pay-per-views we've ever done. And what's absolutely insane is, first of all, beyond proud that I get to say that I'm the AEW World Champion. There's no grandest prize in the sport. But to be able to say that and be the top dog when this roster is, quite frankly, an embarrassment of riches is insane. It was absolutely insane, the amount of listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a company guy, but what I will say is I'm a pro wrestler, and I care about pro wrestling, and I'm definitely pro wrestlers first kind of guy. And I feel like AEW as a locker room has never been healthier, never been better, never been more talented, never been more driven, and never been more hungry. And like I said, I'm proud to be a leader of that.
It's awesome.
I love you, Brian. You're going to be okay. Everybody tell Brian he's going to be okay. Thank you, guys. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jeff Mark Hoke Show, Kate on 101.5 Las Vegas. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, Tubby. How you doing?
Good. Oh, we're going to keep going. It's all good.
Listen, man, once you lose the weight, I'll stop saying it.
Fair enough.
But what is the question?
Fair enough. How much fun are you having now that you've kind of gone away from being the mean guy and actually seeming like you're
You went away from being a mean guy.
Hold on. Tony, geez, Louise. I honestly don't think the messed up thing is I really haven't changed at all. I think what has occurred is just a shift in general public opinion on who I am. Before I was a scumbag, now I'm their scumbag. And I'm still getting used to that. Pretty much everything that I do in that squared circle is to get a win. And when I used to do a lot of the things that I did here tonight, it normally would get boos that would drown out like my own like brain function, and like my ears would bleed. And now I am getting just as loud a reaction. My ears are still bleeding, but on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Am I having fun? I'm learning to have fun with it. I struggle with accepting, this is going to sound a little hokey, but I struggle with accepting love. I honestly always have. I've gotten screwed over so many times in my life, so many different ways by so many different people. I can sit here for an hour and explain all of the horrible things that have happened to me in the short period of time I've been on this earth. But if there's one thing that I learned, honestly, from Adam Cole, it's that I can start letting my guard down a little bit. And I am the biggest narcissist you'll ever meet, and I own that. So when I hear people chant my name, it really gets me chubbed up. So I'm having a blast. Yeah.
Got a few more questions.
Hi, Kate from Fightful.
Hello, Kate.
Congratulations on your title defense today. Titles defense today.
Yeah, right? Shit.
This is sincerely the most in-ring that we've seen you over this stretch. I just was wondering kind of how that feels to be.
My body hurts.
I'm sure.
I am not used to wrestling this much. Frankly, he knows I hate wrestling this much, but it does numbers. It helps, it helps Adam most importantly. I know how important these tag titles were to him. If it weren't for Adam, no offense, Tony, not that I really care, but I most certainly would have been in Seattle tonight. I probably would have just had my feet up and watched it from home. And boy, would I have had a fun time watching it, because the show was insane. Holy shit. The show was fucking insane. I don't think there was one match that missed tonight. It was crazy. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm just starting to get over my neck injury. My back's kind of all gross and cracky right now. But I wear that all with a badge of honor, because I know I'm doing it for my boy. So I'm cool with it.
Hi, I'm Mark Qureshi, Real Take Wrestling. So going from one Adam to another, tonight, Adam Copeland made his AEW debut.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And is he someone you're looking forward to facing in the ring?
I think he's another guy that's coming into my company that wants my spot, and he's got another fucking thing coming if he thinks he's going to take it. Great sign, though. Good job, Tony. I'm proud of you. No, but in all sincerity, first ballot Hall of Famer, incredible professional wrestler. I don't care. I'm just going to say it. I think bell to bell right now, we have like one of the best professional wrestling rosters ever in the history of the sport. It's fucking insane. Holy shit. MJF, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, John Moxley, Will Ospreay, when he's around, British schmuck, Darby Allin, Christian Cage, Edge, Malachi Black, Adam Copeland, Malachi Black, Miro, Will Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Claudio Castagnoli, Eddie Kingston. I mean, and I'm not even naming it. It's messed up. It's messed up. And like I said, again, I couldn't be prouder to be at the top of the mountain when you have a roster like this. So, all right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, champ. So many.
I'll let you do it. All right. They're too heavy. All right. Is that your like assistant?
Oh, it's Sean. Thanks, Sean. Good to see you, Sean. Thanks, Sean. And we just had the AEW World Champion, also the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion co-holder. And speaking of AEW World Champions, in a moment, we're going to be joined by two former AEW World Champions, two of the greatest wrestlers in the world, the Golden Jets.
I got out already. So Kenny and I for a while have thought about like maybe at some point teaming up. So I copyrighted a name just in case you want to use it, which is the Golden Jets. I'm sure you read about it. Somebody stooges off anything I copyright. The Golden Jets is obviously a take on the Golden Lovers, but also the Golden Jet is Bobby Hull, the greatest Winnipeg Jet of all time. Of course, we're from Winnipeg. So if you see the Golden Jets at some point, that's the reason why.
It's awesome. It was a great match tonight. And we've got questions now for Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega.
Hi, Kate from Fightful. Congratulations on such a successful show tonight, and happy birthday, Tony. By the way.
Oh no, it's we got a couple weeks. It's Title Tuesday.
Oh, title. We have
10.
time. So.
But he's got a birthday this month too.
Oh,
Well, there you go. Both of you having.
No one's supposed to know that stuff.
Both of you having such important ties to New Japan. I just wanted your thoughts on being able to foster such a successful show tonight and what it meant to do an Antonio Inoki tribute show on the anniversary of his passing.
Chris, if you will. Well, the times that I met Inoki, he tried to hypnotize me. And I was told just to go with it because that was his thing that he was going through at the time. So you had to pretend like you're like, okay, when he snaps his fingers, you're like, I am a dog, I am a ghost, whatever. But Inoki, obviously a huge legend. And I think it was a great idea that Tony had to do this pay-per-view tonight. Great show. All of our pay-per-views are always so great, but I thought tonight's was really, really amazing. And I like the fact that like it was an Inoki themed honoring show, but it wasn't like the same as
like Forbidden Door.
Like Forbidden Door.
It's
It's different from that.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was great, and obviously a great finish. I thought we had a great match. I think it's been a great couple of days for Kenny and I to kind of tell the story that we're starting to get into now. So I really enjoyed it all across the board.
Yeah, I felt that it was really nice to have full representation of not only our style, our in-house style in AEW, but they saw a real smorgasbord of all wrestling styles. I mean, there was definitely a vast difference in stylistically between what Bryan Danielson did with Zack Sabre Jr. to what we did in our match, and then what they did in the main event as well. So I always felt like, ideally, if we can run a variety pro wrestling show where everything is entertaining, but everything is different, then there will probably be more people leaving the show satisfied than not. So for us to do what we did today with a lot of international superstars and all for the memory of Antonio Inoki, who's very culturally significant to Japanese culture and even the wrestling culture, it felt like just such a great success. So I was glad to be a part of it.
Hi, guys. I'm Mark Hoke Show in 1015 Las Vegas. Guys, Adam Copeland shows up tonight, and a few years ago, you guys took a chance on AEW, and now you see him come in here as well. What are you thinking about the roster and seeing him show up tonight?
I mean, I always love seeing, a big name like Adam coming to AEW, because if you look, I mean, the three of us at this table have been here since day one. Prior to day one, we made day one happen. So, and it was such a big risk because no one knew what AEW was going to be. We didn't have TV at the time. No. We had no idea, but we thought we wanted to take a chance because we believed in what Tony was believing in and what we could do. And so I think after the first couple of years, especially when the pandemic was over, to see all the names that came in, it's like we paved the way and let people know it's safe to come here and it's great to come here. And I've known Adam since 1995. Like, he loves wrestling. And sometimes in other places, that love of wrestling kind of gets squashed and warped a bit, maybe. It's not like that here in AEW. And I think, once again, like when some of the other guys came, like FTR and Adam Cole and those types of guys, they couldn't believe just the difference and just the whole vibe of what we have here. And I think just talking with Adam and seeing him come out of the ring, he's super stoked and super excited and super motivated. And when you're motivated, that's when great wrestlers become even better and even more legendary. And he's already a great wrestler. Like Max said, he's a first round Hall of Famer. But now that he's motivated again, like, I think we're going to see maybe some of the best work Adam Copeland's ever done now here in AEW.
Well, I think Chris.
Oh,
To be fair, Kenny didn't. Get
I mean,
to
I can speak towards it, but what I would say, I mean, just as someone who grew up watching Edge on different programming, it's really cool to see someone come into our locker room with such a positive, just his demeanor was incredible backstage, and you can.
I got to see the first meeting between Kenny Omega and Adam
Yeah.
Copeland tonight. It was very cool.
Right. And, for us younger guys who maybe haven't had experience over in WWE, to meet him for the first time and see that someone who is here very much motivated, willing to contribute and to put their best foot forward and to probably do something that he has not done yet in his career. So he's stepping out of his comfort zone. He's willing to do things that he's never done before, and he's willing to do it with us and with a bunch of young guys, some guys that he's known in his past, like Chris Jericho, but people like myself or MJF or people that he's never known or never met in person. So I can imagine that it's probably a very exciting time for him. And most importantly, it's exciting for the fans. So I really love that there's this variation where now you're going to see all these fresh matchups and potential feuds and angles from here on in with Adam Copeland. So it's exciting time for all of us in the locker room, but also exciting for the fans. And that's the part that makes me the most happy.
Lyrics monthly peer. So Chris Jericho, you have appeared this year in PWG, Rev Pro, and it was recently announced that you will be going to DDT to face Konosuke Takeshita. Can you talk a little bit about this crazy run of going places that you've never been before? And for Kenny, I know that earlier this year you faced Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom, and obviously you lost him at Forbidden Door. So can we expect to see you back in New Japan or possibly making a return to DDT at any time?
I can start if you. Sure,
Well,
up to you. Go for it.
To me, like, I think since AEW started, like, I had kind of a pact with myself that I wouldn't work anywhere other than for Vince. And then when the New Japan opportunity to work with Kenny came up, that was like a whole new world. And then when we started AEW with Tony, then suddenly, like, there's so many cool places to go and work. I've never been to PWG, and I always kind of thought, what is it all about? And it was just the perfect night with Danny Garcia bringing the Jericho Appreciation Society in there. Great surprise for the fans. Attacking Ospreay in London at Rev Pro, great surprise for the fans. Lights go out when Takeshita's in the ring at Korakuen Hall last week, and Jericho video comes up. It's a surprise for the fans. I like doing cool things that keep people excited about what I'm doing and keep people entertained, and doing things that nobody else expects. I've kind of really made a name for that. So yeah, I'm excited to work with DDT. Tony obviously gave me his blessing. I want to go back to Japan. I mean, Kenny and I had such a great run in New Japan. Between the two of us, we headlined 3 Tokyo Domes 3 years in a row. He did 2, I did 2, and I missed that. The pandemic kind of screwed that up. So I'm really excited to go back to Japan. I mean, my first tour, I was 20 years old, 1991. So anytime I get a chance to go there, especially against a talent like Konosuke Takeshita, one of our greatest wrestlers here in AEW right now. So to be in his home turf, so to speak, with a new company, and I've been to the Sumo Arena probably, 3 dozen times at this point, but I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Speaking of Takeshita and big matches, we spoke earlier before I came in here. You requested a match for this Wednesday in Stockton, California, coming out of tonight. And it sounds like a great match, so I'm going to book the match. And it's going to be Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita and Sammy Guevara this Wednesday on Wednesday Night Dynamite. I thought the match tonight was excellent, and I look forward to a great tag team match this Wednesday to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of Wednesday Night Dynamite. Very fitting to me that on the very first episode of Dynamite, you two are on opposite sides, and you and Sammy, of course, aligned that night on the first episode. And here we are. You two are together. Takeshita, someone you brought into AEW, standing opposite you, and Sammy Guevara, someone you brought into AEW, standing opposite you.
True, yeah.
And it's a bitter rivalry. Should be a great match to celebrate 4 years of Dynamite that you've both been a part of every step of the way.
Yeah, I'm excited for that match, and I do think it's fitting as well. I really feel that we've got something special here, Chris. The chemistry we have between one another, and I never would have thought that that'd be possible. I always thought that my greatest magic would be standing opposite from you, but it seems that when we're on the same side, we've got some sort of je ne sais quoi.
Winnipeg, man.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
got to
grow
be
up in
what it
Winnipeg
is.
in the
Yeah,
ice and snow and not have some sort of a connection.
that's right. But to answer your question, Japan, of course, is like a second home to me. So there's always like it's a feeling of like longing when I haven't been there for a long time. I try to get out when I can, and I try to have some sort of business connection to it as much as I can. Of course, I still have friends there, people that I regard almost as like distant family members. And my time in New Japan too, it was some of the greatest moments of my life and some of the most proudest work of my life. And like Chris had said, between the two of us, I think we did 3 Tokyo Dome main events each in a span of 3 years, or 3 or 4 years it was. So, the match catalog is there. It's work that I can always look back at fondly, relationships and stuff that I can look back at as very fond memories. And I've luckily been able to bring some of that back here to AEW, and I'm glad we can see Ibushi here. I'm glad that now that AEW is its own sort of existence, I'm able to go back not only for New Japan, but there are opportunities as well, just like Chris, to go back to DDT. Again, that's the first promotion that took a chance on me. And that was the first place to accept me as me, and they allowed me the conduit for my own creative freedom and to kind of design and create this Kenny Omega character, which then evolved into the Cleaner, which then evolved into the Best Bout Machine and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, it was a great starting block to really build on myself. And then again, when it was time to see, when it felt like I had sort of grown. When I felt that there was stones left unturned, when it was time to take a chance again on myself, it allowed me to build up the confidence to really believe in myself and in Tony and in Chris and in AEW. And thus, we've created something pretty wonderful that people, again, like Adam Copeland, believes in as well. So, again, I'm very proud of my time there, but I'm also proud that it was able to lead into something that I'm very proud of here. So will I be willing to go back? Do I hope to go back? Of course, all the time, every year. But first and foremost, I'm really trying to do what I can for the incredible athletes and superstars that are here in AEW today.
Nick Hart from bodyslam.net. I was curious about when it comes to Ibushi, there was a long time where you guys weren't able to wrestle together.
Yeah.
And I feel like every interview with you guys, people were asking about them. So now that you've wrestled with him a couple times, I just want to get your thoughts on how that's been and if we can expect to see more of him in AEW.
I believe it's definitely a safe bet to say he will be back. Ibushi and I, we've really gone through the ringer. We've been tossed into the meat grinder. Part of the reason why I was really motivated to go to DDT in the first place was because of Kota Ibushi. I really felt attracted to his style, and I'd really felt attracted to his outlook on professional wrestling. So we have really done everything that we could to just leave it all out there, and we've broken ourselves over and over and over and over and over again just to build ourselves back up, to break each other down again. So I really feel like when there was no one else around us in our pursuit of our own personal best, we were each other's shoulders to cry on. And it really means a lot that now, after all this time apart, that we can, in our current old man broken states, that we can, still be there to support each other, still train together for these matches, and then still be able to go in front of a packed house, in front of, with people like Chris, as our partner, and make a little, make a little more magic. He had
a great time, and he kept saying thank you during the match. Thank you. You like? Okay. Yeah, man. We're only 10 minutes in.
So So I mean, I feel like it's just, we're making up for a lot of lost time, and but it's just great that not only, the friendship, of course, and the relationship, the personal relationship will never die. That won't be a thing. But to be in a professional environment with him again is it's just great. And I love being able to travel on the road with him again and train with him again and all that sort of stuff. It's wonderful. So I think it's probably safe to say he'll be back. Yes. Yes. Great.
Very safe.
Great.
Very safe.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Kevin Deers with Defy Wrestling. So I had a question for both Chris and for Kenny. We've seen MJF was talking about how there was an embarrassment of riches with this insanely stacked roster. We just we're seeing the rise of Swerve right now. There's people that are really rising up. And if each of you could maybe pinpoint one wrestler that, might not be getting the title shots these days, but whether you are taking them under your wing or you're just keeping your eye on them, who's one wrestler in the locker room that you think has a bright future?
I mean, I think there's so many wrestlers that have a bright future. That's one of the things that we concentrated on from day one, was building as many homegrown AEW stars as we could, because you couldn't just have Chris Jericho do it every night or Kenny Omega. And I think we've done such a great job. Look at tonight, Darby Allin in the main event. It's the same reason why the Inner Circle was started and why the Jericho Appreciation Society was started. And we've got stories going with a lot of these guys. I think if I have to pick one, I think one of the guys we're going to be focusing on that's going to be part of some of the stories upcoming is Danny Garcia. I think he's got something very special. I didn't know at first anything really about him. And when Tony and I put together the JAS, I was like, all right, well, the story dictates it. As we started working together, he's good, man. He's another guy who's only 22 or 23. And wrestling is fine. You guys know my opinion on matches are great, but his character, his understanding of the business, his willingness to do whatever needs to be done to get to the next level, that's what wrestling is, and he's got that. So I'm really looking forward to expanding his role here in AEW in the best possible way with the stories that we're telling.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd that you brought up Big Swerve's name as the first name in a long list of incredible, talented performers that we have backstage. And I've always been a huge Swerve fan. And I remember just making a point after many of his performances to kind of, tap him on the shoulder and go like, dude, like what you did out there was really incredible tonight. Like, I don't know if you need to hear it from me. Like, it's probably not. Don't feel free to not paying attention to me. He says, but if it doesn't mean anything, like I think you're great, and I really hope that we can do something at some point down the line in the future. And he's just, again, a real humble dude, always willing to do what's right. He's got a great attitude, and clearly, if you saw his performance today and seen his performances lately, he's a guy that works very, very hard. Mm-hmm. You'll never feel like you've been slighted or you never got your money's worth.
He knows who he is as a character.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, like there are a slew of talents who understand the business and will always do what's asked of them, no questions asked. And there are guys like, Butcher Blade, Kip Sabian, who show up every single week and they're doing the right thing. And when they have their entrance and they come out, I see like these guys look like wrestlers. These guys look like ass kickers. And then they go out and maybe they won't win. Maybe they won't. But they understand how the business works, how it operates, and they're always the guys that we can count on. We have an incredible roster of people we can count on. And again, as a huge fan of women's wrestling, of course, anytime the women can show out, I'm super happy for it. Like recently, we've seen Julia really step into her own.
Tonight.
She's looking incredible. She's performing incredibly well. Feeling more comfortable in her own skin. The character work has been impeccable. Looks more comfortable in the ring too. So when I see things like that, it just brings a smile to my face. I mean, I'd love to see, more people like that get more time and to be able to show what they can do, because the roster that we've assembled, every single one of them, if given the opportunity, can steal the show. And I think you're going to be surprised with a lot of people moving forward. Like you said, it's not always going to be the Chris Jericho show, the Kenny Omega show, the Daniel Bryan show. Brian Danielson show.
Thank you.
It definitely won't be the Daniel Bryan one. Ever. Probably. The Brian Danielson one it will be. But like you said, Darby Allin in the main event. And the thing is, no one looks at that card and goes, why is Darby in the main event? Right. No, they get it. Because every single one of our athletes can main event a card and it's not going to look out of place. And I'm happy to be the guy that can help show people what they're capable of. In fact, I've taken a lot of pride being that person lately. Because I think maybe even the wrestlers themselves sometimes don't want to admit their own potential. And but if you're kind of forcing the spotlight on them, they have no choice but to take the ball and run with it. And I think every single one of our guys are very capable of it. And I'm willing to back that statement 100,000%. I think no matter who's in the main event, no matter who works with who, there's definitely potential for an incredibly interesting story and a lot of matchmaking opportunities. And again, as pay-per-views go on and as the shows go on, we're just seeing more and more added to the roster, and more potential interesting matches and dream matches to erupt from it. Again, I mean, everyone probably already kind of creating their dream match list for Adam Copeland, which is great. I love seeing that, and I love people having friendly conversations with each other as to what would you like to see this person do? What would you like to see this person do next? Or who would you like to see step into the spotlight next? This is all great. And I love that no two answers are ever really going to be the same. And I think that's, it's one of the biggest positives to a roster, but also it's tough too, because you can't always see everyone that you like. But we're always going to do our best to show what we're made of, and I just feel like you haven't really seen anything yet. There's no way our product can ever really get stale, because as soon as one person steps out of the spotlight, or has to, unfortunately injuries happen, or life happens. We have someone who's ready, willing, and able to step right into that spot, and they're going to nail a home run. That's one of the greatest parts of being in AEW, and one of the greatest parts of when I'm not performing, to be able to sit and watch the monitor and go, these guys are killing it. And that's how I feel when I watch every pay-per-view. Just our pay-per-views are so fun to watch. And I feel that as a fan, even when I'm on the show, I try to watch as much as possible. And maybe I should be focusing more on what we need to do in the ring. Maybe that explains my win-loss record lately. But yeah, no, it's great. It's great to not only be able to contribute, but to be able to be a fan again in our locker room.
That's awesome. I'd like to thank you both, and I'm excited for your match this Wednesday at the 4th anniversary of Dynamite. We're going to celebrate 4 great years thanks to both of you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you, buddy? Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir. Is it cold down there? Uh-oh. Can we get you guys some coffee or something? You have any cold down there? Okay, good. Well, we'll try to heat things up now. Well, that was a great to hear from Mr. Jericho and Mr. Omega, from the first ever AEW Dynamite main event to the 4-year anniversary. And speaking of main events, the winner of tonight's WrestleDream main event, here is the TNT champion, Mr. Christian Cage.
I don't need your lame applause. I know how good I am.
Questions for the champion?
None? Can I go then?
Hi, Mark Hoke with the Mark Hoke Show, 101.5 FM, Kate on Las Vegas. Your old friend showed up tonight. What were you thinking?
I said this in the last scrum. I don't have any friends other than Luchasaurus. Was it a surprise to see him? Yes. Did I care? Not really. Doesn't change anything for me. I'm still the face of TNT. I'm still the TNT champion. I'm still the man to beat in AEW. You understand that, right? That a few short months ago, people were saying this title meant nothing. And I've taken it, and I main evented WrestleDream tonight with it. I made this title. This title, in my opinion, is more prestigious than the world title. Mainly because I carry it. But I think my track record speaks for itself. And I think you have to give me my flowers now. Do you not?
It's Brian from the Wrestling Observer. When did you
Great, like talking to Marks.
When did you first see Nick Wayne wrestle? And what were your thoughts when you saw that first match?
I've never seen Nick Wayne wrestle.
Never.
Do you wrestle?
Thank you.
Do you wrestle?
No.
You don't wrestle.
I did back in the day.
I'm sure you sucked, which is why you're here asking me questions.
I wrestled his father.
But what, did you give a star rating tonight? Did you give me a really cool star rating?
I did not give a star rating.
So what's the question again?
I was wondering what you thought when you first saw Nick Wayne wrestle, but you said you never saw him.
I've never
wrestle.
seen him wrestle.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I know he's a good boy, though.
He is a good boy.
He was a little bit lost.
Yeah.
But he found his way tonight. And I will guide him to greatness. I will groom him to take over one day everything that's mine. Nick is a fine boy. I see a lot of potential in him. I didn't need to see him wrestle to know how good he is, to know his potential. He's wise beyond his years, young Nick Wayne.
JC from Habit Sports. Christian, you just said that you were going to mold Nick Wayne. Is it more on the other end? Are you brainwashing Nick Wayne?
Brainwashing? I'm just telling Nick the truth. Nick knows the truth when he hears it. I'm champion. I'm sitting here as the man in AEW. I'm the most talked about wrestler in this company. Why would Nick Wayne not want my guidance? Do you have an answer for that? You didn't answer my question.
He's better without you.
You didn't answer my question. You're just telling me an opinion. Okay. Anybody have an intelligent question?
Hi, Omar Q from Real Take Wrestling. It's always interesting to me.
Wait, what was it?
Omar Q from Real Take Wrestling.
Okay.
Sorry. It's always interesting to me when wrestlers take apart the mat on the ring and expose the wood. What was going through your mind when you decided to do that?
I wanted to hurt Darby Allin. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
I thought you said you were going to out-wrestle him tonight.
I did out-wrestle him. My hand was raised at the end. I beat him 2 falls to none.
Isn't that the kind of stuff that he would normally do that you said proves he's not a great wrestler?
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that.
Questions for the champ?
We did see an old friend show up tonight, but I was wondering, as the title holder, do you have your eye set on anybody else as far as a challenger, or are you just waiting for someone to step up next?
Why would I target somebody? I have the most prestigious championship in this company. People should be lining up to step in the ring with me. I'm the biggest star in this company. Just being in my presence elevates them. Of course they're going to line up and challenge me. Well, I'm not challenging anybody. I'm sure that there's a lineup out that door right now. What's up, Tony?
Well, I think there is a line out the door. You're a great champion. I think it was a great main event, and I think you've proven you're a great champion. It's been a short time you've held the title, a matter of weeks, but in these recent weeks, I think you've proven that.
It's going on 4 months, but I'm glad your timelines are in order.
Okay. Well, let's have more questions for the champ.
Lyric Swin, Monthly Pure. So when you say that AEW needs a father figure, what does that entail?
There's a lot of lost souls in this company that need guidance. I feel it's my duty, my civil duty, to make sure that they're guided in the right direction. And Nick Wayne, like I said, he's got a bright, bright future now. Smart boy.
I noticed at the beginning of the show tonight, as we did the opening ceremony for the late, great Antonio Inoki, I noticed you were watching on at the beginning of the event.
Yep. They lost their grandfather.
He's always watching.
I'm always watching.
Any more questions for the great champion? It was a classic main event. It was a classic pay-per-view, and you've been a huge part of what I think has been the best run of AEW shows we've ever done. Largely thanks to you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, it's been great having the champion here. Let's hear it for the TNT champion, Mr. Christian Cage.
Thank you. That's why I don't use those things.
Thank you. Unbelievable. He is unbelievable. And speaking of unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen, a man who yesterday had a birthday and tonight picked up a huge pay-per-view win. Let's hear it for Swerve.
What up, turds?
Sean Garrett, Car 7 News. You said that Hangman Page would not know what he would be expecting tonight. Do you feel that the crowd gave what you expected tonight?
They gave exactly what I expected. They played into my hand exactly like I've been setting this trap for 4 weeks now. I knew when we were going to have this match. As soon as I spoke my first couple words to the man, I knew that he was going to. I knew that he was going to come at me in such a way that I'm like, yo, this is easy. This was honestly one of the most easiest people I've ever had to manipulate in my life, because I knew what he needed and he had what I needed, and that was his opportunity, and he played right into my hand. So that's that dark cloud that he was talking about. That's me now.
Kevin Deers. Swerve, you made quite a name for yourself here in Washington and in Seattle before your time with AEW. Now coming to Climate Pledge Arena, insane reaction for you, and almost like any other city would maybe be the opposite. What does it mean like for you to wrestle here in Seattle for such a huge event? Tell me about coming back home and wrestling here in front of your hometown crowd.
Well, it was honestly like the entire city was telling the rest of the wrestling world what they've already known about me for years, that I am a star, I'm a main eventer, that this man laid out the red carpet for me on day one when I signed here, when I showed up at Revolution in Orlando. And he offered me a contract there rather than just having me come out, jump into a match, and get my ass beat. No, he laid me out a full contract signing in front of everybody. And what did I say? Whose house? And what did the rest of the crowd say? Exactly what Climate Pledge did. They've been doing that for years. And we just further prove that again. Like, there's going to always keep raising the ceiling every time I break through. And then they're going to raise it again. And then they're going to keep raising it again. And I'm going to keep shutting them down and making them look stupid. This week, I was just with Coach Prime at Colorado. And I relate to that man so much because everybody's waiting for him to fail. Everybody's waiting for him to slip up and make the mistakes and prove them, all their critics, wrong. Actually prove them right. But he's no matter what, he's already winning. He's already winning. He's already beat everybody because they can't stop talking about him. They can't stop. The media doesn't even move in college sports without his name being in the circle. And that's what my name is going to start doing in pro wrestling. You don't mention AEW without hearing Swerve involved in that. You don't make a top 15, 20 bullshit list without Swerve being involved. And if you do leave me out, I make you look dumb over and over and over and over again. Hangman Page was honestly, like I said, this past week, it didn't have to be Hangman Page. It wasn't about Hangman Page. It was about whoever was holding that spot. It just happened to be Hangman Page. And he had to pay for it and be the lab rat in this experiment tonight.
Nick Hart from Body Slam. You wrestled in this area for a long time and know a lot of the talent in this area. Is there anyone you're interested in trying to bring onto your team here in AEW?
Oh, man. Well, Nick Wayne found his way here. You know, that wasn't my doing. You know, that was Darby Allin's doing. Was it too soon for him? Maybe. But he wasn't the main event tonight, so he may be showing me something that I don't know. I'm not, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you who should be the next one up from this area. How about y'all do y'all research and do y'all jobs and y'all go find out? How about y'all show up to the Defy? How about y'all show up to these Seattle shows and these independent shows and y'all do some of the work instead of this man doing it for you? You know what I mean? How about go support them, figure them out. You start making the reports. You start making the next star to come up in here and get their contracts. Because I had to do it the hard way, but Nick Wayne didn't have to. Hopefully the next one doesn't have to do it as hard as I did. How about that?
Self-made mogul. We can do a couple more for Swerve.
Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling. So we just heard from Jericho and Kenny Omega, and they gave you huge praise of the work that you've been doing, and especially tonight. How does that feel hearing it from them?
It's a beautiful validation hearing something. I didn't hear it personally, but just knowing that they're speaking like that about me is big. You know, even Adam Copeland using my name in the media scrum. Once again, that shows you my name is ringing bells around here. You know, my name should be in this conversations with these guys. And it took a year and a half to get to that point, but y'all been seeing what I've been building. Y'all been seeing what I've been doing. A lot of people like to say it was like a lot of like missteps and redirections and pitfalls and stuff. No, that's not wrong. That's building me. I've been building this entire time. And to get to that point where I get that recognition from my peers, from legends, from guys that run this place doesn't even move without those guys. You know what I mean? So honestly, it's humbling to that fact. And like speaking on Jericho, that's a man that honestly, without a Jericho, there is no Swerve, because he's the one that kind of was the multi-tool player of a wrestler for like the last 20 years, doing his podcasting, having his band, being in movies, doing TV shows, doing all these different things while still having an amazing legendary run as a professional wrestler. You know, that's kind of what like I kind of wanted to be. I wanted to gel myself into that. But at the time, you weren't seeing too many African-American guys in the wrestling world doing that. You know, like shout out to like a Ron Killings who does that amazingly, you know. But I wanted to be the one to just take it up another notch, bring that world a little bit closer to ours, you know. Even if it's the wrong kind of noise or the right kind of noise, I'm happy noise is being made, you know. And just to know those guys respect my hustle and grind as a media person, but also as a wrestler is even bigger. And that spectrum is like closing in. It's getting really, really like big on every side. It's not too much. I'm very balanced out right now, which is really good, which is hard as hell to do, but I work really hard for that. And I sacrifice a shit ton. I have 2 beautiful daughters that I barely get to see because I don't want that time that I wasted with them to amount to nothing. That's why I go so hard. That's why I grind so hard. That's why I do all this stuff. That's why I bring in a Rick Ross. That's why I have Fabulous out on stage with me, at Kevin Gates, and then go do a music video, and at the same time fly back across the country to be here for this man on time to perform, and then go out, podcast, bring on Tony Khan, bring in Jericho, bring in Kenny Omega on that, and then build up my friends like Montezzi and bring in like, you know, like build up my team, my Flash Garments and stuff like that. All these guys, that's a lot that I'm I'm juggling a lot, you know, and a lot of normal people break on shit like that, but I can't afford to break. We as this culture can't afford to break because they're waiting for it.
Lyric Swinton, monthly peer. So when you came face to face with Hangman Page, you talked about potentially being the first Black AEW world champion. And so it seems like you're on that path. And what do you feel is your role in bringing Black viewership to AEW and making this place feel like, just like it's, welcoming for, Black viewers?
Well, I'm real. Like, I can look everybody in the eyes the same way and say the exact same thing, and I will not blink because I'm not playing around. I'm not portraying anything. And I feel like if it resonates like that with you, it resonates with people at home. It resonates with kids like me at home. When I said that, and out of all the things, that 5 minutes that I was speaking to Hangman Page, that was like one of those few words that resonated so hard. And it kind of like, you saw positive, but you saw a lot of negative. And I expected that. I expected people to like have mixed reviews on those kind of things, or like, oh, what am I trying to perpetuate? And I'm like, no, I'm speaking real. Like, I have no problem saying that. It's not taboo. It's my culture. I have the right to speak on my culture and what I view and what people that are like me view. And I want to be, and I know I can do it. I look this man in the eyes very proudly and say, I know that what I can do for you in this company, and I've been proving it for 1.5 years.
Absolutely.
And I know you know that too. Yeah. You wouldn't have me here if you didn't.
It's very true. And just to put it in perspective, how far you've come in 1.5 years, how far the company's come in 1.5 years. I don't know if you know this. This is a story I've never told you, I don't think. You may know it, not from me though. The first pay-per-view you were at, you mentioned Revolution 2022. It's been 1.5 years. You've been in AEW since you first signed. And of course, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, two of the great AEW world champions, they were up here singing your praises. It was actually the opening match of Revolution 22. It was during the period where Kenny Omega was out injured following Full Gear 2021, but it was Revolution 2022. Chris Jericho was in the opening match of the show. He wrestled Eddie Kingston in the opening match. Later in the show, you came out and signed, and Chris came to me in the chair. And Chris has a brilliant wrestling mind, and he's doing all kinds of projects. He was honestly not, when you came to AEW, he wasn't familiar with you. And he asked me, and he said, he's really cool looking wrestler. Tell me about him. And I said, I'm a huge fan of his work. He's wrestled a lot in Seattle, Orlando, different companies. I'm a huge fan. He's going to do awesome for us. You're going to love him. And here we are 1.5 years later, and Chris Jericho sitting in this chair after watching you for 1.5 years, put over, he thinks you're one of the best wrestlers in the world, and that you did that. You convinced one of the best minds in wrestling, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and in 1.5 years, and I think you've made believers of millions of people all over the world, and wrestled on some of the greatest pay-per-views, in my opinion, of all time, certainly the greatest pay-per-views we've done. You've been a huge part of what's been happening in AEW in the 1.5 years you've been here. You've already been a world champion, a world tag team champion, and I think you can be a great champion as a single star or whatever you want to be, but we love having you in AEW, and I hope you had a great birthday weekend, Swerve.
The best.
Thank you. That's great. The Royal Surge. And from one great native of the state of Washington to another, ladies and gentlemen, Bryan Danielson. What a great match. What a classic match you had tonight. It was awesome.
Let's talk about the illusion of free will. No?
Sorry. You want to lead off with that? All right, let's go.
Talking about Jimmy Jacobs in the back. So, you know, things got wild.
Oh, good. I missed it. We've been having a good time in here, and it's great to have you here, sir. It's always great to have you with us, and what an amazing match you had tonight. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It was awesome. I'm looking forward to that for a long time. Questions for Mr. Danielson?
Kate from Fightful. I think Antonio Inoki is definitely smiling down on what you guys did today, so congratulations. You and Zach had met in 2008, and then various points, Cruiserweight Classic, of course, very different stages of your career now, and I was just wondering what your thoughts and feelings were being in completely different technique master stages of your life.
Yeah, it's really crazy to think of the person he was when I met him in 2008, because there's pictures on the internet, I'm sure, that people could see of me and Zach, and he looks like a skinny kid. And now he's a man. And I would argue, one of the selling points of this match is we're going to find out who the best technical wrestler in the world is. And in theory, the idea is the winner of the match is the better technical wrestler. Being in the match, I won the match, but I am not convinced that I was the better technical wrestler. He was doing things that were quite frankly unbelievable and great. And I don't know. We were talking about it. My hand and wrist are super swollen right now. And so but it was, sometimes I'm out there and I would love to get like an EKG on my brain when I'm wrestling, because there's the part that's like aggressive and you're in it. But then there's also the part that you're just like, oh, I'm in awe of what he's doing right now. So yeah, I mean, it was a super cool match for me to have. And I'm also very grateful because I've never had like not even a good match in Seattle. Like all my matches in WWE were all like short matches or whatever. When we came here in January, I wrestled Tony Nese for like 4.5 minutes or something like that. And to be able to do this match that I've wanted to do for so long in front of this crowd for an event like this that's honoring Antonio Inoki, I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
Hi, Brian. Mark with the Mark Hoke Show and Kate on 101.5 Las Vegas. I've been watching wrestling for about 40 years, and I have never seen a match like that, to be very honest with you. And I'm curious if a young wrestler came to you and said, how do I learn to do what you did in that ring tonight? What would you tell them?
I would say the beginning steps to learning everything is starting at the basics and progressing to mastery over certain areas. And so if you love technical wrestling, it's starting with learning the fundamentals, gradually expanding until you master one thing. And once you've learned to master one thing, then you can learn to master another thing. And when you learn to master multiple things, then it becomes easier to master more and more and more. And then you get to the point where you're able to do some incredible things that you wouldn't have thought you were able to do when you were 18.
Nick Hart from Body Slam. It's been rumored that you've taken over a bigger role for Collision as of late. I was curious, just first off, if that was true. And secondly, do you get a chance to look at a lot of the independent wrestlers that come onto the show, like a Vert Vixen that was just on? Do you have any kind of role in that, or is that some handled by other people?
No, I mean, it's mostly my role on Collision is just me and Tony talk about it a lot, but it's like there's no official role there. And I try to watch everything that I can because, and especially, we'll stay late after Collision till the end of the Ring of Honor tapings and all that kind of stuff. And I like to watch all the Ring of Honor matches because we'll see a lot of one. I want to know who within the umbrella of our company is doing really good work. But I also want to see the independent talent that we're bringing on for maybe just a show or whatever. I like to see because sometimes I see people and I'm like, oh, wow, that's, we just had the bounty hunter, Brian Keith. And I'd watched some of his matches on, say, like YouTube, but seeing somebody live is a different perspective. And he wrestled Hangman on Rampage, and he just did an incredible job. And sometimes you get to see people and you don't know how they are. You get to see them in person, and then you're like, oh wow, there's something here. And so yeah, I like watching all that. I try to keep up on it as much as I can.
Hi, Brian. Keith Elliott Greenberg with Inside the Ropes magazine. I noticed you made it a point at the end of your match to embrace Aubrey Edwards. What were you trying to communicate, not just to Aubrey, but to all the people here in Washington State by doing that?
So when Aubrey first introduced herself to me, she introduced herself and said, "Did you ever see the meme of the crying girl when you were forced to retire?" And I had no idea what she was even talking about. But then she showed me, and it's her, right? She was in Key Arena when I did my retirement speech. And that's just, it's just a cool moment. There's not, in the history of professional wrestling, there haven't been a lot of people from this area that make it big, right? And now we're lucky in this company that we have multiple people. When we've got Darby, we've got Swerve, we've got Nick Wayne, we've got me, and we have Aubrey, who has been there and like been a fan and been invested in this. And for us to be able to share that moment, that it wasn't for anybody else, but for me and her, because she was, and I actually have never talked to her about her attachment to me and why she was crying, right? But the fact that she's been on this journey with me, and then we got to have this moment together in Seattle, because referees are a very important part of our matches. It's just, it felt special. And it was just a spur of the moment thing. And it was just like, I am grateful that Aubrey was our referee tonight.
Hi, my name's Amanda. I'm from WrestleTalk.com. Bree had posted, your wife, on Instagram stories a few days ago that she's waiting for Buddy to get a little bit older before she wanted to get back in the ring. Is that something that might line up from a timeline perspective, that we could see the Danielsons together in an AEW ring?
So I will never say never, but she puts stuff on Instagram that I don't even know. So sometimes people will say like, "Oh my gosh, that picture of your kids is adorable." And I'm like, "What picture are you talking about?" And they'll show them to me, and I haven't even seen the picture. She hasn't sent me the picture. So I will say this. Bree is the boss in our family. If she wants to come do it, it'll get done.
Brian Alvarez from The Observer. What were your thoughts on Josh Barnett getting to do the Inoki tribute show tonight? And have you ever had a chance to train with him? And how did that go?
Yeah. So one, I was thrilled that Josh was going to be able to be here. I haven't seen him. Gosh, it's probably been since 2003 or 2004 since we last crossed paths in person. But we actually trained at Ivan Salivari's gym yesterday. Not legitimate training, but also training in a legitimate way, and how that applies to professional wrestling, because Josh is very smart with that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I was thrilled that he could be here. And one of the highest compliments that I could get on a show that's a tribute to Antonio Inoki is for Josh Barnett to tell me that he loved our match. So yeah, it was awesome.
It's awesome. That's really awesome. I really appreciate you coming and doing this, Brian. Everything you do in AEW, I appreciate it. And tonight, unbelievable. I thought it was one of the greatest matches in the history of AEW, and I thought it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. I just really appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you, Brian. Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable night, unbelievable show. And we go from one great match to another. Ladies and gentlemen, the TBS champion, Chris Statlander. Hey, champ. Hey, champ.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Yes, please. The TNT champion knocked that over and put it back up for the TBS champion. Perfect.
Perfect.
Lyrics Swinton monthly peer. So Chris, you are now the defeater of the undefeated ×2. What is next for you? Who are the people that you are still excited to get into the ring with, both in AEW as well as outside of AEW?
Well, starting with within AEW, I think we got a really cool taste of the potential of me and Tony Storm. I think if there's a potential of maybe me and Saraya, find out who's the better champion. Even Athena. There's so many people that I've yet to get my hands on, and I would love to. And outside of AEW, I think there's just so many people that the list would go on. And of course, I'm always open. Like I always say, anyone, anytime, any place. I would love to pick names, but there's just so many possibilities that I would be here forever listing them all.
And what's amazing is you've got so much chemistry with some of your opponents. You've had great rematches. You and
Yes.
Julia had great matches before, but this was on a completely different level,
Mhm.
and the chemistry is off the charts. I think it showed how far she's come, but you
Yes.
as well. I think it's obvious you're the champion, how far you've
Mhm.
come to be a great champion in AEW and a dominant champion. But Julia, since your first meeting, since your last meeting, Julia's come so far, and I thought she was amazing tonight.
I totally agree. Yeah, she was definitely a whole different person from the first time we wrestled, the second time we wrestled, and she was a challenge tonight. But I'm also just very proud of how much she's improved, and I think she's incredible.
I also thought 2 weekends ago you had an amazing rematch with Dr. Britt Baker. You have a lot of history with Britt Baker. You've had great matches, and that might have been the best one yet.
Yes, my goal is to always leave them wanting more, and I think it could go on forever with a lot of people.
It's been amazing on a great run of matches. I thought that was incredible just in the last few weeks. You've been wrestling so great, and I also think your confidence is off the charts. I think your promos, your interviews have been better than ever. You're just doing everything so well.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
It's great. It was a great match tonight.
Thank you.
Next question for the champ.
Right here. Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling. So Tony and even other wrestlers tonight at the press conference discussed Julia Hart's kind of growth over this last year, and especially in this match tonight. And so how was it different for you as a champion going in to see her growth? And did that challenge you or intimidate you or kind of change what you had to do to get the win tonight?
Like I had mentioned, like I'm very, very proud to see of how far she's come. And of course, after I haven't been able to work with someone or wrestle them for a while, there's always going to be that need to want to feel them out a little bit beforehand. But of course, going into any match, I always try to prepare and see what she's doing, keep my eyes on her. And I can see there's a whole other side of intensity from her lately. And I think there's also been a whole other side of intensity from me. And I think we were both going into this match just looking to bring out the best of each other and push each other to our limits. And I think that's exactly what we did. So, yeah, I think her, like you said, like her growth has been absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for her. And I can't wait to give her another shot at this down the line eventually.
Hi, TK Trinidad with Women's Wrestling Talk. So you had Saraya tweet and also Britt Baker tweet about just the positivity of women's wrestling and how people were, really loving it. What would you attribute that to as far as the growing within AEW?
I think it's just so many of the women here all just want to band together and constantly put out great matches, put out great content, promos. And we want to have fun and we want to see each other succeeding. And I think that is so important that we seem to be really gung-ho for each other. And we just want more for each other. We all just want to put our best foot forward and just put on a great show, no matter what it is we're given. And I think people always like to assume that they know what's going on behind closed doors, but they don't. And we want to publicly show that, no, we really do care about each other. We want the best for each other. And I think we're just supporting each other in any way possible. And I think that's just pretty much plain as day what it is. We want the best for each other.
We go right here.
Kevin Deers with Defy and KISW 99.9. And so growing up and then when you got into wrestling and started training, when you're studying tape and learning about these, different styles of wrestling. Who are some people that you really kind of crafted your style around and really influenced you?
I don't know how well known it is, but I did not grow up watching wrestling. And I didn't even know that wrestling was a thing until I was brought in as a valet and I was watching it ringside and I was like, I think I could do this. And then once I started training, they were like, you should probably watch wrestling. So I just had a bunch of guys would like be like, oh, let's try like RVD's moves. And I was like, I'm not RVD. I cannot do any of this stuff. Or I really just watched a lot of the people that helped train me, and a lot of my inspiration were people like VSK, Brian Myers, Pat Buck. They're my trainers. Even unfortunately, MJF was there my first day of training. Yeah. But it's just like just how much people cared about me. I was just inspired by everyone that helped me out, and all I ever wanted to do in wrestling was just make them proud. And any sort of like tape setting I did would just be like best 100 moves of this wrestler compilation videos on YouTube, and that's where I figured out everything. That's where I got my style, and I was just kind of winging it, and that's what made me the man I am today.
That's great. We can take a few more questions for the champ, I think. That was awesome.
If anyone else has anything they want to know.
I think in addition to the great coaches you named, we've got some great coaching in AEW right now. Yes. I think Pat's still doing a great job for you to this day, and Sarah Stock's doing awesome.
Yes, she's incredible.
Ari Davari doing a great job.
Oh, he's awesome. Yes, we have a lot of good hands on deck here. I appreciate all of our coaches very much.
You're doing a great job too.
Thanks. All right. Hey,
that's amazing.
Great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, champ. Very different disposition from the TBS champion compared to the TNT champion. Far sunnier. That was great. What a pleasure. And speaking of pleasures, I think we'll be joined by some more great stars. What a great pay-per-view. It's just been a great night and so many great stars I wanted to bring in here. And since we're on the West Coast and we're 3 hours ahead, I thought I would have fun and just, really go wild, get a lot of the great names in here, and we're having fun. Following one of the great pay-per-views of all time with one of the great scrums of all time, in my humble opinion. And here is two of wrestling's great champions, former international champion Orange Cassidy, and wrestling's greatest champion, the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Katsuyori Shibata. My great friend.
Thank you for bringing up that I'm former international champion. That feels good. I'm over it for sure. I'm not over it.
These two have a remarkable chemistry in and out of the ring, and I thought they were involved in two separate great matches tonight. They're very different individuals in many ways, but they found this great bond, and it carries over outside of the ring, and they become great friends in real life, and I thought they'd be great to come up here. You can ask them both questions or separately, whoever you want to talk to, but fire away at these two great champions.
Brian?
It's Brian Alvarez from The Observer. This is for both of you, but I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
I don't know if I have any favorite wrestlers growing up. I mean, I'm just going to say Razor Ramon.
Jake the Snake? Big Jake the Snake guy.
Tony actually knows that the correct answer is actually Jake the Snake Roberts. That's correct.
That's from spending 4 years together.
Yes.
Shibata-san, growing up, you idolized, I think I know the answer to this.
Of course, Antonio Inoki. Yes.
Have you all seen the photo of Shibata-san as a baby with Inoki-san? Have you guys seen that? Yeah.
He's got everything.
Let's see. This is trust. This is trust.
This is crazy. You're going to pull your phone out in front of everybody.
I am. This is trust right here. I'm going to pull it out right here, and I've got something to. This is a great photo.
Can I drink this?
Wow.
Here's I'll pass it around.
Pass it around. You're out of your mind. Oh, you almost did it. You almost did it. I'll get through to Brian first.
Oh, there it is.
Don't screw through the photos. Mandy,
No, they're fine.
Mandy, you
It's
better
fine.
watch
It's
that.
fine. It's for you. Pretty cool, right?
It is.
You can throw it back. I'll catch it.
Yeah, throw it back.
I got good hands.
I actually asked the question to you, Orange, because you have such a unique style. And so, you know, you can watch a lot of wrestlers and you say, okay, this guy loved this guy growing up. This guy loved this guy growing up. But you can't really watch you and really think, man, this guy was a big fan of Jake the Snake, for example.
Right. And I think that is important now and today, because I think a lot of times we tend to repeat history, or if we decide, if we like something, we tend to imitate that. And I wanted to be different. I wanted to literally do what you just said. I don't want anybody to be able to point to me and say, oh, well, that guy wrestles like that. He looks like a young blah, blah, blah. He's like, I wanted to be special and unique, and I wanted to be different. And I wanted to be the person that when, however long from now, someone like says, oh, you wrestle like Orange Cassidy. And I think it's not easy. It's very, obviously very, very difficult. So thank you for saying that.
Lyrics went monthly peer. So Orange Cassidy, you just had a monumental run as the AEW International Champion. So what is the next big goal for you currently in AEW? And for Shibata-san, I know your father was a referee and you grew up around Antonio Inoki. What did it mean for you to participate in this tribute show to him tonight?
Should I go first?
Okay.
I'll go first. You want me to go first or Shibata?
You want to go first?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you.
Sorry,
Shibata,
you.
please. Shibata's Ichiban.
Yeah, please, always.
I am very grateful to be able to participate in today's ceremony. Thank you, Tony. There is one problem. My battery is low, so today's translation will be done by Japan's biological Japanese machine.
There it is.
Okay, good. My man.
There you go.
My man.
I forgot the question because that was wild. What'd you ask? I'm so sorry. That I can't think right now. Yeah. What's next? Like I said when I walked in here and it said former international champion. You don't have something for so long, and then when you don't have it, it's impossible to miss it. It gave me a lot of purpose, and it was something that I never felt before, especially in professional wrestling. It almost became an identity, which is difficult for me to say, but it is still at the forefront of my mind. And I think tonight, when I saw an opportunity to get into the ring with the current international champion, I took that opportunity for a reason. And, I just want it back. Yeah, that's it.
Right here.
Kevin Deers here. This question is for Katsuyori Shibata. So you trained down at the New Japan LA dojo. You were the trainer down there. There are some people from right here in the Northwest, Clark Connors, also Kevin Knight, who were wrestlers down there. What was that like for you to train? What did that mean to you to train down in the New Japan LA dojo as the trainer? Also, what do you look for in a student?
Well, I was explaining it. It's a good question. I mean, we got dead air here. I don't want to.
No, it's good stuff.
Okay, thanks, man.
ですね、I'm sorry, what am Japanese? まあ、それぞれが自分の道を進んでいければいいなと思ってます。
So I think every wrestler is going to each own way. That's the best way for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only a great teacher, he was a great student to Antonio Inoki, which is why I thought it was very fitting tonight. Not only one of wrestling's great teachers, but also somebody who's been a great student and now has taken what he learned from one of the greatest minds, one of the greatest champions, one of the greatest bosses in the history of wrestling, the late great Mr. Antonio Inoki. But now Shibata-san himself has become wrestling's greatest champion.
Nick Hart from Body Slam. This is a question for Shibata, or I guess also you, Tony. Does Shibata, do you still have any ties with New Japan anyway, like contractually, or are you exclusively just signed with AEW and Ring of Honor?
If Tony wish, I am ready to make a commitment.
I want you to stay forever. Never leave. Please never leave. You're my favorite. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're the best. Shibata is Ichiban.
A few more questions? Here we go.
Shibata, what does it mean to the Japanese wrestling community now that we're getting to see more and more Japanese wrestlers participating on American soil that Tony's been bringing in? And Orange, my question for you is, my daughter thinks you're really cool. Could you say hi?
Yeah. What's your name? Hi, Amanda. I'm Orange Cassidy. Nice to meet you. Every now and then.
私もその一人なんで。
So I am the one Japanese wrestler to come to the United States.
Yes, absolutely. There, we've brought in a lot of great stars, but this is, there's no doubt this man is wrestling's greatest champion, in my opinion. And well, we've had a lot of wrestlers, a lot of great names come from Japan. I think the list starts and ends with the great Shibata.
And I think we're very lucky to have somebody of Shibata's caliber and just wrestling aura to be here in the AEW locker room, and for people to see Shibata on American national television is, I think it is a wild step forward for us, for Americans to see a different side of professional wrestling that we all enjoy. So I think we're very, very fortunate.
We consider him a leader in the locker room.
Absolutely.
He's one of the real leaders in AEW.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go. Bye.
Thanks, Orange. Thank you very much. You're the best. Thank you. You're the best. Thank you, Orange. That was awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the hometown hero. Are you okay?
No clue.
Oh, geez. You don't like to see that.
I'm going to the hospital after this, but I got to be up early in the morning because I got to meet up with this guy at the REI to climb Mount Everest, and I got to talk to him about. He's my coach, so I got to wake up at 9 in the morning to go to REI downtown and plan this Mount Everest climb.
Well, I hope you're going to be in a condition to climb Mount Everest.
Yeah.
It's already very dangerous and life-threatening, and you trying to do it with one arm is not a good idea. So please don't get yourself in a bad situation.
Well, I told Jay, one of these days I'm gonna win the TNT championship. I'm gonna climb Mount Everest and I'm gonna make a will. And if I die on Mount Everest, I'll give him the championship back.
Okay, good. That's a very morbid thought, but that sounds right on brand for Christian Cage and frankly for you. Well, along those lines of morbidity, it was one of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen. It was one of the great main events, one of the great shows, and the city of Seattle really showed the love to you. That crowd was amazing, and they were behind you so much. It was a great match. You are, I've been saying it to you for 4 years, sir, you are insane. And it's amazing. To your first pay-per-view main event. I remember your first TV main event, and we had Chris Jericho sitting here, and he was putting you over. And I remember 4 years ago, we were celebrating the 4-year anniversary of Dynamite, and it was our 3rd ever episode. So just about 4 years ago in Philadelphia, you tore the house down in your first TV main event, and you absolutely tore the house down in your first pay-per-view main event. You're the man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Darby, JC from Havoc Sports, man.
Yeah.
The
what's
last
up,
time
man?
you were out here in Seattle, you did the climb for Base to Space at the Space Needle.
Yeah,
Would
that
you
was
want to do it again?
Yeah. No. We ran up all the steps on the Space Needle. It was for charity, right? Okay. I'll make sure I wasn't just a dumbass running up. All right. And then, that was fun. I had a really good time there, and I'd love to do it again. Anything with Seattle I want to be a part of, like any local, like anything to help, because this city really shaped who I am. So anything I can give back to it, and just like whatever, like investing in like new, like just a bunch of stuff to help out the kids, especially if I'd love to do meet and greets and like skate with all these like kids in the local area and stuff like that. So because I know when I was younger there wasn't a lot of things going on, so I'd like to give back to the city, to the kids. That's why hopefully that little kid that I gave my skateboard to actually skates one day. So, and I don't see it on eBay, please.
Right here from the Observer.
Yes, sir.
What did it mean to you to have this main event in Seattle? Nick's there, Shauna's there in the front row. I'm sure all of your friends and family. Pay-per-view main event. And the second question, I guess, what are your memories of driving around with Adam Friday night, filming all that stuff?
So first of all, main eventing this show is, I can't put in words how much that meant to me. And it was the perfect storm of like being in Seattle, having Nick here and everything. And it's like, I have sacrificed so much to get to this point. And like, literally there's no words to put into it. And I'm so grateful to have AEW here, and I don't take anything for granted. Anything I'll say it for the millionth time. There's never going to be a bidding war for Darby Allin, because I'm going to live and die in AEW. And I mean that. Like, it's just, life's too fucking short to play these childish games. Like, and I'm being real here. Like, I love this place, and to put me in a spot like the main event in a building that I've been coming to, even though it was like the Key Arena before, but it's like a full circle moment, and it was very special. And I broke a nail. So it was, but Adam, yeah, did he talk about that?
No.
Did Adam talk about the little bit?
A little. No, he talked about Friday night. I thought you meant about you breaking a nail.
Oh no,
we didn't talk about Friday night.
No. Did he say how the trunk was open and we're all hanging on to? All right, okay, he covered it. Yeah, no, but to do. Like, I love being a part of every little thing. So I was hit up earlier this week talking like, hey, yo, Adam's interested in like filming this vignette, and you're apparently the vignette guy, and I know all the street spots around here and like try to get all these angles. And it just so happened, I don't know if you guys caught it, as we were driving down with the drone shot and those fireworks going off, it was the perfect time because the Mariners just won or something like that. I think they won, right? Does anyone? Okay, all right. So then the big old fireworks going off, and then I was like, man, they're gonna think we paid for that fire. It was so epic, and that was my first time meeting Adam, and it was incredible. Such a good guy, and I told him straight up, when he came here, I was like, I'm one of these young guys that want to pick your brain, because I'm not one of these guys like, I can't learn from the vets. Like, I love working with the vets, like hence why I love working with Sting. And then he's like, just to let you know, I'm not the type of guy that tries to push like back in my day onto any of the young guys. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Back in your day, you were doing spears through flaming tables and like jumping off ladders. So I'm like, I kind of embraced you back in the day, man. So he's a really incredible guy, and he was so humble and so open to letting me like help throw my ideas around, you know. And a lot of that video is very special, like to me. So it just, I don't know, it was awesome.
If I may, before you, I thought the main event was amazing, and really, all your matches with Christian have been amazing. I was, as you saw when you came back from your match on Collision with him, when you beat him on Collision, I thought that was one of the best matches we've ever had on television. And I was texting people, calling people right after, and I said, if you didn't see Collision tonight, that was one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen in my life. And it was a great wrestling match, and you guys did go outside and do crazy things, but it was unbelievable. And then tonight, somehow you took it to another level. I don't know how you topped it, but you did. It was an amazing main event. And on a night where all the matches stole the show, it was a main event that stole the show. And then everything you did in front of the hometown fans and the reaction and the love you got, I think you should just be so proud of what you did.
Yeah, it'll all sink in like tomorrow for sure. Like, I'm really grateful for everything. And if anyone's curious to why I was bleeding in the very beginning, I was hitting the skateboard on the stairs, like, and then it bounced up, hit me in the face, and then all of a sudden, and I was like, all right.
It's like a Kerry Von Erich, but very different reasons.
Yeah, it was fun.
Kate from Fightful, I'm sorry about your broken nail. It hurts.
You ever get acrylics?
I have, yeah.
They're
it
pretty
hurts.
painful.
It actually hurts. I'm sure it's the most painful thing you've done today. But this is the second time we've seen you be the incoming program from the hottest free agent on the market, like marquee signings that are coming in here. What's it like to be trusted in that position and participate in programs like that?
You know, like I've literally thought about this. I've been in so much debuts, Jeff Hardy, Sting, you know, like the list goes on, and it's incredible. I think it speaks volumes to Tony having the trust in the homegrown guys, you know, putting in that spot, and then, you know, it helps just elevate me. I have no problem whoever comes in this company. I want as much like talented people. Like, I don't care, like, oh, I'm gonna lose my spot if this guy comes. No, it's just gonna make me work harder. And that's what we need, is people just to work harder and like no one phone it in, because I don't want anyone to take this place for granted. So yeah, I'm very, you know, I love being in that spot. So
hi, Darby. Had a question. You very ingrained in the Northwest wrestling the wrestling scene, sorry, music scene, I was going to say, wrestling scene.
I did a few karaoke performances around here.
Absolutely. You trained at Nick Wayne's father, Buddy Wayne, the late great Buddy Wayne. Can you share any stories about your time with Buddy Wayne? Anything come to mind when I say Buddy Wayne?
Well, you know, it's crazy because I literally became a part of the family. I was going on vacations with them, and I remember the first week I was there, actually the very first day I was there, he's like, you look a little weird, but we got something here. And then, you know, and he's like, you know, because he came, you know, around the 80s and stuff, and he's like, yo, because at the time, the school, there was people that were like, their characters were like bowlers and all that stuff. He's like, why don't you be a gas station attendant? And I was like, I don't know, man. But he was very, you know, I was very like, it's awesome being around him so early on, because you don't realize what you got until it's gone. And then you also don't realize what you got until you're here. And then to see, like, if I was to go to any other school, who knows if I'd make it here. Everything happens for a reason. And then having like Buddy be there. And I remember like one time I like shaved the top of my head off, so it like looked like a science teacher with hair only on the sides. And then I super glued a bunch of car toys on top of my head. And then I couldn't get them off before practice. So I showed up with a beanie on, and Buddy's like, all right, take off the beanie. And I took it off, and he's like, what the hell's on your head? And I had all these car toys. I'm like, can we just not practice DDTs today? So I took like a butter knife and was trying to scrape them off in his kitchen. That hurt so bad. But I do remember actually Brian, Buddy, like was like, yo, like, I think he told me, he's like, talk to you. And there's a video of me dropping on that big old sculpture in front of the lightning bolt, like from the Space Needle, that lightning bolt sculpture. And I remember meeting you way back. It was probably my first like month of like practice. And he's like, Brian, this is the weird dude that does all the crazy stuff. So it's like, it's pretty cool though, you know, like, yeah. Yeah. And I'm still all those things.
You put on some good muscle.
Yeah, I put on some size. Yeah. I literally started at 128 pounds when I started training, because I was just like living off of $5 a week, going to film school like in Arizona, and I dropped out, and I was just like, oh yeah. And then, yeah, no, it's really cool. Everything that happened, and it's just like I say it all the time, and it's awesome that we have Shauna here, you know, like just to witness everything, because yeah, I don't know. I wish Buddy was still alive. Everyone wishes Buddy's still alive, because it would have been really special to see what his son is doing now, even though his son's a little dipshit, him in the head. But it's still, it's very, it's just, yeah, it's very awesome.
Go on, Mark.
Hi, Mark Hoke. What is it like to be standing in the ring when you've got Sting and Adam Copeland there? I mean, that just has to blow you away.
Yeah, I think, wasn't it you that said we're gonna have this generational moment?
Yeah, three generations, in my opinion, three of the great wrestlers of my lifetime in three different generations, and all still in 2023, all of them can still go at the highest level, and it's three generations. They have, I think, a thread that ties them together. Frankly, three darker, esoteric figures in the world of pro wrestling, to say the least. And it just felt right to me to see the three of you together like that. And it was special.
Yeah, being in the ring with those guys, it's like a moment where it's like you can't really stop and smell the roses that much, because I'm in so like I'm like, whoa, what a match that was. It like really took a lot out of me. But having like being in there and sharing that, these are people that I grew up, that kind of, you know, I remember being such a fan of Adam. And I told them this Friday night, I was like, the only wrestling shirt I felt cool wearing at school was the Rated R Superstar shirt. So it's like, you know, and I'm like, that's like my goal with wrestling, is just to have people like be like, yo, that guy, you know, he's different, you know, and he doesn't embody what people think wrestling's about, you know. So it's cool. Like, and I think Sting's the same exact way. So being in the ring with those guys and letting them like share that moment with me, like is amazing. So it's cool. Yeah, I'm grateful for it. So.
That was awesome. It was a great pay-per-view, and you stole the show yet again, sir. I hope this is going to be something we can work through.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll cry. Yeah. I'm going to go to the X-ray right now. I'll text you, and then I got to go at 8.
Jesus.
I'm going to go at 8 in the morning, go plan this Mount Everest trip. So
I hope, hopefully it's a good sign if you're climbing Mount Everest that this is going to work out. So,
yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for tonight and everything you've been doing. You're the man, whether it's Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, WrestleDream tonight, every pay-per-view, you just come in, you absolutely steal the show, no matter where it is. On the show, you always deliver. You go so hard, and tonight in the main event, you delivered another great one, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Darby. I'll shake your left hand. Thank you. It's awesome. And then there was one, as Agatha Christie said. And I imagine a few of you might have questions if you hung in, and it's great. I can stick around and answer them. Thanks for sticking around.
Sean Garrett, Car 7 News. Is WrestleDream going to be an annual show, and is it going to be tied to Seattle, or do you plan on taking it around the country?
It's a great question. I'm not sure about next year. I don't know about the availability. We really lucked out on this weekend that the Kraken weren't here. It was perfect for a pay-per-view weekend, and you never can predict the schedule. A lot of these major arenas have commitments. Sometimes, you know, there could be NHL or NBA, and this time of the year with preseason getting going, you know, that's something to consider. I can't speak a year ahead as to where the event will be, but there will definitely be a WrestleDream. It was a very critically successful event. A lot of people are telling me it was the best show they've ever seen in wrestling, which means a lot to me. I think we're on just an incredible run of pay-per-views. Since Collision started, we have done 4 straight pay-per-views that I feel are all classics. And I really believe the TV has also gotten better. And in turn, the pay-per-view has gotten better, because with 5 hours of television, you can do so much more storytelling. You can build so many more stars, have so many more great matches, great segments, great characters. You can develop a pay-per-view so much better with 5 hours of television than you can with 3. So for so long, we had 2 hours to do everything. And I think we were doing great stuff. We added a third hour, and it really felt like we stepped up in 2021, right around when Rampage came in. But the roster kept getting bigger. The star power has continued to grow. And I felt it was really challenging to build these pay-per-views, tell all the stories in AEW in 3 hours of TV. So the addition of Collision came at a great time. And since Collision started in the summer, this past June, we've done 4 pay-per-views. It is, in my opinion, without question, the best run of 4 consecutive pay-per-views AEW's ever done, and I'll hold it up against anybody's 4 pay-per-views they've ever done. Not just in terms of the critical reception, which has been off the charts, and that is really, really, really important, because if you keep doing shows that the fans and the critics and the media respond very well to over and over and over again, you're going to stay in business and do good stuff. But it's also been a really important commercially successful run. And, we had Forbidden Door. That at that point was our biggest gate of the year. It was up from last year, which was the biggest debut of any pay-per-view we'd ever done. And it was a great show. Some people thought it was our best show. Then we went to All In. It was insane. It was something, it took our product to a level we've never been at. And it was a great wrestling show, but it was also commercially one of the most successful events ever in wrestling. Is a live event from ticket sales. It was the most successful event ever. It sold 81,035 tickets. And as a pay-per-view, it was huge. It was our biggest pay-per-view in years, and I think it'll end up as one of our 2 biggest pay-per-views we've ever done. And so that's pretty great. And it was by far the biggest debut of any of our new shows, following on Forbidden Door, which was our biggest debut, and then stepped up this year. To go from Forbidden Door to All In, then you go to All Out in Chicago. People say, how are you going to follow All In? Well, All Out followed it. It was amazing. We kept the streak going. Some people thought All Out was even better than All In. And going off 3 straight great shows, to come here, the lineup looked great. Everything was in place to have a great show. All the matches were amazing, top to bottom, an amazing show. And then to boot, what an awesome moment debuting Adam Copeland at the end. And it just felt like we're on this great run. So WrestleDream is here to stay. As a pay-per-view, it did incredibly well. Looks like it's up from All Out. WrestleDream over 100,000 buys, I think, is pretty safe to say based on digital projections. And that's really exciting. So to have a new event like that debut in line with a lot of our other big pay-per-view events, really exciting. And it bodes very well. 100% we're going to do WrestleDream next year. I hope that Mr. Inoki's grandchildren will join us again. And I thank them very much for the great gift. The scarf, Mr. Inoki's scarf, really it meant a lot to me, and I'll keep this forever. And to be able to wear this and produce a great wrestling show and stand side by side with them was very cool. And then the only thing that made it better was to have Rocky Romero and Shibata-san out there. It just felt really right, and it was really nice to do that. So it was a great show, a great event. I think we accomplished everything we set out to do tonight. So definitely we're going to do WrestleDream again next year. I hope the Inokis will also join us at Full Gear, because they live in LA, and we'll be in LA for Full Gear, our next pay-per-view event, November 18th. Full Gear will be on a Saturday, which will allow me to have a great event on November 18th on a Saturday. And tonight we went head-to-head with the NFL, but we actually came out and had a great pay-per-view. And yeah, you never want to go head-to-head with the greatest media property in the world, which is the NFL. But thankfully, we had such an exciting event tonight. We were able to really hold up and do great pay-per-view numbers. Full Gear, I like George Costanza. I won't take my chances that night. I'll get out. I get out while I'm ahead on that one, not mess with my own league again. And what it'll allow me to do, we'll do 2 great nights at the Forum. November 17th, Friday night, we'll have Rampage and Collision both at the Forum. And then have a great pay-per-view, November 18th, Full Gear, one of the biggest shows in AEW. And very fitting to go back to the Forum, where we've had some of our best events ever for our pay-per-view debut. And I get to go back to Jacksonville for the Jags game on a red eye, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it goes as well as this pay-per-view weekend did for the Jags and AEW. Thanks, Sean. Great to see you. Hey, Brian.
Hey, the MJF storyline is that he's holding the tag titles for Adam Cole. Is there an update on Adam Cole's foot? And were there any other injuries tonight?
Tonight, you saw Darby walked in here in a sling and scared the shit out of me. But besides that, we're in pretty good shape. And Adam Cole is injured. I think I will leave the updates for a later time, but thankfully he's going to be okay. He'll be back, and maybe he'll still be Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions when he comes back too. MJF wants to retain those titles so that when Adam Cole comes back, he comes back as a champion. And I think that's what friendship's about. It's pretty noble. And he's taking a lot on himself right now, taking the schedule of a world champion in AEW and a world tag team champion in Ring of Honor out of friendship. So that's pretty cool. And we'll see where it takes him next. He's got a lot of things going on, not only Adam Cole's injury, but, there's people accusing him of being the one who took out Jay White. We're going to hear from Juice Robinson and the Guns on Wednesday with an update on that whole situation. I thought Juice Robinson also, by the way, had a great match last night himself with Andrade El Idolo. That's just something to keep an eye on there. And just, a lot going on. As far as injuries, I think there were a lot of beat up people. It was a hard-hitting night of wrestling, so stay tuned to that. But knock wood, came out pretty healthy considering how hard-hitting and physical the show was. Thanks.
Nick Hart from Body Slam. Pro Wrestling Noah recently announced that Nakajima wasn't going to be renewing his contract. As he's considered one of the best wrestlers in the world, is that someone you guys have taken a look at or interested in talking with him to try to bring him in?
I am interested, and I've heard he's interested too. So that could be good. Yeah, big guy. You just did a fist pump there, so you like that, as Kirk Cousins would say, and I like it too. So Nakajima is very talented, and I think that would be great. He'd be a great fit here. I've heard he's interested in coming, and we'd be interested in having him. It's something to consider. Thank you. Great question.
Emily May with Sportskeeda Wrestling. We saw tonight in the audience, Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson. The fans were excited. I know everyone online was talking about it. And we've seen this challenge against Kenny Omega, Street Fighter 6. They've been going back and forth on social media. So what does this mean? Is this perhaps a partnership with one championship? Can we perhaps maybe see some future fighters in an AEW ring?
Well, it's a great question. We've had great fighters here before. Of course, American Top Team has participated. Be fair to say, Dos Santos gave me a hug so big he broke my ribs 2 years ago, which was a lot of fun sleeping on that for 6 weeks. But he was great other than that, and really a beautiful human being. And of course, Andrei Arlovsky, Paige Van Zandt, a lot of great fighters have been here. In addition to the great American Top Team representation, including Mr. Masvidal, a lot of great people that have been here. I think it would be great to have Demetrius Johnson here. I was glad to see on social media he really enjoyed the show. And we have had good ties with one championship. Mike Mansouri had been at one championship previously before he came here. So it's a good relationship. They're wonderful people there. That would be great. I think having stars from MMA is a great crossover opportunity, and a Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson, is always welcome in AEW. Thank you.
Lyric Swinton, monthly peer. So you have been known to spend the big bucks when it comes to music in AEW, and I think that that's been something that's resonated with a lot of fans. So talk about like how important it is for you to, secure some of those big tunes, whether it's, Final Countdown at Forbidden Door, or even tonight bringing in Metalingus for Adam Copeland.
It's really important. It always helps when you have a big star like Adam who's really well connected and can help you save a couple bucks on the price too. That's always nice. Unfortunately, Brian wasn't so well connected with Europe. That one really cost me. And then there's other opportunities along the way, like, Jefferson. When we first came to them on Jane, to be honest with you, I don't think they had any interest in doing it with us. And then when Pixies got really over, all of a sudden Jefferson came back with a very fair price quote, and we were able to bring Orange the song that he'd been associated with long before he got to AEW. I'm really appreciate you asking that. Thanks, Lyric, because before the show, I was saying in my office to a lot of the producers and coaches and production staff, it's a huge part of what we do. It's such a huge part of AEW's identity and something that sets us apart, and I think helps make the show feel cool and different than anything else in wrestling. It's a very Major League Wrestling show. We do shows in front of big arenas and now even a packed stadium in Wembley, and play very identifiable music. We have really cool songs that are original songs. Some of them, like from AEW ourselves internally. Adam Cole's a great example of that. There are a lot of great examples of songs that Mikey Ruckus and the team put together. And then there's people that come in with music that's still relatively original, like Darby Allin, for example, that while it is a mainstream artist, it is a song that I think a lot of people identify with Darby. And I think it's great to be able to bring in a lot of outside music and then bring in classic tracks like Jefferson for Jane, which is such a great fit. And I'm really very glad they did choose to work with Orange Cassidy. I think it's been great for everybody. And Final Countdown was a great example of that. And I love bringing in classic songs. And there's some I've tried for. Probably the most important one we ever did, and the one that meant the most to me, was when we got Ol' 55 by Tom Waits for the Brody Lee tribute. When I heard the song, I thought it was like the perfect song, and he was in a bad way. And just in case, it was not looking good. And so I started working on getting the song in case, hoping I would never have to use it. And unfortunately we did, but I think we also, in doing so, put together the best tribute show in the history of pro wrestling on December 30th, 2020. And number of other times we've gotten the songs, it just feels like a really important part of what we do. And like I said, it's something that sets us apart. I think on the entrances, our wrestlers are really identifiable. A lot of times the wrestlers come to me with a track they want to use. And if it's something that's available that we can get, and if it's something I'm feeling and I like, then I always want to do it and take a big swing and try to get those songs. So we have done that. One of the coolest things we did, in my opinion, was at Wembley Stadium for All In. Saraya asked if we could get Queen, We Will Rock You. And I really thought it set the tone for the match and the moment and for her championship win. And that was a great idea. And again, it wasn't a cheap one, but that's a really big song, and it was a great moment. And, that's worth it to do those kinds of things. So I really felt really good about that one. I thought that was really, really cool. Thank you for asking.
Hi, Tony. So you spoke to the honor of being able to dedicate a show to Antonio Inoki. I know you grew up a humongous wrestling fan. You spoke to going to ECW for like a high school trip, but I never have heard you talk about your origin story of your love for Japanese wrestling. So being that he's the founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling, what was your origin story of falling in love with New Japan?
It was WCW, and it was on TBS. And before they were even doing WCW on TNT, in WCW, when I started watching, the first pay-per-view I ever saw of WCW, Fujinami was in the main event wrestling Ric Flair. There was lots of great stuff on that show. Of course, you had Lex Luger and Sting versus the Steiners, and so many great matches up and down the card. Barry Windham against Brian Pillman tape fist match. Dustin Rhodes wrestling Terry Taylor, but Fujinami was in the main event. And then I went back and started renting the tapes around that time. And the Super Show from Japan was around that time. So you had Hase and Sasaki versus the Steiners. And then I'd been watching WCW for about a year. You saw the Steiners beat the shit out of Azuka, and when Fujinami just stood there and watched it, and so many great matches. But I really became fascinated, and then Bill Watts brought in Hashimoto also, and then you had Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Terry Gordy coming around that time, and they had a great history in Japan. So I was really interested in it, and Pro Wrestling Illustrated covered it. I started trading tapes a few years later. So when I was 12 years old, I started trading tapes. And my friends, I was asking them to send me things, and I would occasionally buy tapes, $10, $15 a pop. I did the HTML for John McAdam in exchange for tapes, and John had a very extensive collection, so I got a lot of stuff from him. Other friends, Del James, who also sent me my Inoki Peace Festival shirt because he was there, so I had a white shirt I wore all the time. It was in the rotation from the 96 Peace Festival. But I think WCW, first of all, I think it's really important what we do, creating a challenger brand in wrestling, but also a place where New Japan can have that kind of relationship, and then introduce to the mainstream, bring kids into Japanese wrestling like I was. And young kids can watch TBS and TNT and see great wrestlers like Shibata-san or Okada coming in and around Forbidden Door, and see these big names. And then now what's really cool is you don't have to necessarily pay for tapes or trade tapes, because there's so much video content available online, which is everybody's online essentially now to some extent. So it's much easier to see these wrestlers competing, whereas I was reading about them a lot in magazines or when they made their appearances in WCW. So TBS is actually how I was first introduced to New Japan, and then a couple years later through tape trading. It's a great question. Thank you. Means a lot.
Hi, Tony, TK from Women's Wrestling Talk. So I spoke to you in Chicago and asked you about Jade, and you're like, whenever she's ready, she can come back. And she came back and she's gone. Now, my question, just, being nosy, did you already know that, this was the game plan?
No. I knew Jade's contract had been ticking down, and we were talking about a new contract, and I was very interested in Jade coming back, and we were having a negotiation. And I think it was I made a very big offer, and I thought it was a very fair offer. And I think she was considering it, and then she asked for a bigger offer, and then I went up again, and I kind of thought that was going to do it. And then it didn't, which I was surprised, because to be honest, I came up to a number that was higher than her original ask. So I don't know what I would have had to do at that point. So I was a little surprised, but I was, when I answered your question, really hope Jade would be back. I think I tried to handle it when we were down to the nitty gritty and we were in the final couple weeks and we still hadn't agreed to something. Then it was at the point where I said, okay, well, if you aren't going to stay, I want to give you the best possible exit. And I have only good things to say about Jade. I really enjoyed working with her. She was a great part of AEW. She's always welcome here. I tried to give her the best possible send-off I could. The classiest send-off I've ever seen in wrestling was, at the time, I thought it wasn't the kind of send-off I really saw, and I was 10 years old, and I could tell it was different, was when Ric Flair left the WWF. And he did a match with Mr. Perfect, who was a natural person for him to wrestle, and that was it. And then he was gone. They didn't do anything to embarrass him or mess him up, and they let him leave, and he was still Ric Flair. He wrestled the match against the person he should have wrestled, finished up, and left with, not only, to say the least, not only with his dignity, but in probably a better position than he came in. And that's what I tried to do. I wanted to give her the best possible send-off. I think the natural thing was there was no rematch ever against Chris Statlander. So I had her do a run-in and lay out Statlander, knowing that it was going to set up the match where she would likely finish up unless we came to an agreement at the last minute, which I was really still hoping would happen down to the last minute, to be honest with you. And I don't think I'm talking out of school. I have only positive things to say, but that's where it was at. So I thought I had a pretty good plan at that point that, if this is it, that's where we'll finish up. When she did the segment where she returned on Collision to set up her final match the following week on Rampage against Chris Statlander in the main event, and she did the run-in, and Tony Schiavone came up to the desk, tapped on my monitor, and said, "You're a classy guy, boss." And I think he meant it. That was a classy way to send her off. And I try to make this a great home for wrestlers, and I want people to see whether you're coming in or coming out, we're going to treat you well. And I really respect and value Jade, so I wanted to give her a good send-off. And like I said, I wish her the best, and she'd always be welcome back if she wanted to come back. Thanks.
Over here, Tony.
Oh, geez. Wow. Oh, no, sorry. I was looking at, oh, you saw, that was a good fall. That was a good misdirection.
Ben from Sam Wrestling.
Adam!
Adam!
I'm just kidding.
I just had a question about the setup for TSN Plus as far as Collision Rampage go in Canada. How satisfied are you with that? And do you want them to be on TSN proper at some point?
It's a great question. I think that's something we definitely are looking at, and I love TSN. They've got a great history in the wrestling business. I would love to make the shows as widely available as possible, and certainly I think that's a solution for the Canadian fans they would all like to see. So yeah, I think it's a great question. I would hope that's the case. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Mark.
How you doing, Tony? With the new pay-per-view, obviously you're ushering in a new era of adding in multiple events on top of the 4 that you had. What did you learn from this one tonight? And how many more pay-per-views are you kind of thinking about adding to the schedule?
Well, it was a great success. I think this show was not only one of the best wrestling shows we've done, and the content was great, but it was a very successful show, a very profitable show. And that's why you do more pay-per-views, so they'll make money and help the company. I think the company is far better off right now as I sit here than it was yesterday. That's pretty cool. So I definitely think it was a very worthwhile event. And not only are we financially better off because we did a great show that made money, but I think we'll bring in new fans, spread word of mouth, get people excited about AEW. And that's putting us in a good position. So WrestleDream was a big win. I have never said we're going to do pay-per-views every month, but we've added. We said, we had 5 last year. Now there's 7 in play because we did the original 5, Revolution, Double or Nothing, added Forbidden Door last year, and then, of course, All Out and Full Gear. This year we did the inaugural AEW All In. That was a huge success in London. Now we've added WrestleDream. I think there's a possibility to add something else along the way, but I've never said we're going to go every month, and I'm not saying that. But adding pay-per-view events has worked out really well for us. I think All In was a great addition this year, and WrestleDream was a great addition, so we're 2 for 2. Last year, we added Forbidden Door, so 3 for 3 in the new events we've added in the last couple of years, plus the second Forbidden Door was a home run. So 4 for 4 on the new shows. It's pretty good. So I think... will I press my luck? I'm not saying I'll do them every month, but I do think we can add more shows. And based on the track record, I think you'd have every reason to be confident that they're going to be great shows. Thanks, Mark.
Hi, Kate from Fightful.
Hey, Kate.
Congratulations on a successful event today.
Thank you.
You, kind of building on Mark's question, have been talking about a new era. I was just wondering if that expands beyond Adam Copeland's debut today, if there was anything that you wanted to share with us. And I know you shared some kind of initial thoughts in the beginning, but how exciting is it to have Adam Copeland here, and anything you wanted to add about that?
So great to have Adam Copeland here. He's one of the great wrestlers of my lifetime. He's such a great leader. He's going to be a great leader in the locker room. And for our fans to know that you tune in this Wednesday, you're going to see Adam Copeland on Dynamite. You tune in this Saturday, he's going to be at Collision. And then the following week, I cannot stress enough, on 10/10, my birthday, Dynamite will be on a Tuesday. So this week we're on Wednesday. Adam Copeland's going to be on Wednesday Night Dynamite, the 4-year anniversary show. But he's going to make his AEW debut against Luchasaurus, somebody who's been the TNT champion and been dominant, and somebody who has been the World Tag Team champion, and somebody who, frankly, physically is a very imposing matchup, even against a big guy, a big, great athlete like Adam Copeland. Luchasaurus is bigger and and frankly, a very impressive athlete. So that's going to be a great match and so much to look forward to for Adam Copeland. It's going to be a new era. It's a rated R era in AEW officially. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of other new things to look forward to. There's so many great wrestlers, all the people that participated on this card. Toni Storm, I think, is doing some of the best wrestling in AEW, some of the best character presentation, is one of my favorite wrestlers, one of my favorite people. She's actually back visiting her family right now. That's why she's not here. Otherwise, Toni Storm would have been a very good candidate to be on this pay-per-view or any show I do. I think it's the people have noticed since she came in. I really like booking Toni Storm in matches and promos. She's only getting better and better and better. I can't wait till she's back because I have a lot of interesting plans and a lot of things I want to do with Toni Storm. She's fucking awesome. And there's a lot of other people in the company that are doing a great job right now, top to bottom, people that were on the pay-per-view tonight, and then people that whether they've been on Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, or even people on Ring of Honor trying to work their way up, or just people on Ring of Honor that are top stars, because right now Ring of Honor's got some of the best champions in wrestling. I just think there's so much exciting stuff happening, and I think that, yeah, it is a new era, and we're going to also try to keep doing what we've been doing, which is doing great pay-per-views, because we're just on an insane run, thanks to all of you giving us this opportunity and being here. It means a lot that you would come to Seattle, that you would all stay to midnight Pacific time and sit through these great interviews and give me a chance to talk about an event that meant a lot to me personally. Tonight's WrestleDream show. This is so cool to wear the scarf of Antonio Inoki given to me by the grandchildren of Antonio Inoki, and that they had a great time, and that I think they're going to come back, and that they thought this was a good tribute to him. That is about as cool as anything. And everything else was just an amazing blessing. I mean, from start to finish, this is just one of the greatest nights I've ever been a part of. And we've had some great times here, I think. And I'm just very grateful to all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for covering this. Thanks everyone watching tonight. And I'll see you Wednesday for 4-year anniversary of AEW Dynamite. Thank you. Thanks.